My name's Guy Kestevan. I've been a professional bike and kit tester for over 25 years. Today, I'm up in beautiful Nidderdale, North Yorkshire, to talk about a very interesting combination. The sublime Mason Exposure running super fast, super light Hunt carbon gravel race 40 wheels with classified Powershift 2-speed hub. So let's head up into the steep and rocky stuff, see how far this 26-speed Campagnolo project bike can take me. So the basic principle with this classified Powershift hub is it's just a smarter, faster, quieter, more efficient way of doing what a front mech does, while still keeping the extra chain clearance, the aero benefits, and the larger chainring efficiencies of a one-by system. And as you can see, so far up here, haven't had to even use it. I'm still in the 1-to-1 ratio. Haven't had to press that little wireless shifter button that's popping out on the inside of those e-car hoods there. And this is quite, this is quite a big gear combo. This is a 44 front, 1036 back, and that's classified zone cassette as well. Which, interestingly, one-piece machine steel is actually 100 grams lighter than a genuine Campagnolo cassette. But as things steepen up, it might be time to put that Powershift into action. So the first question that most people ask about this system is, because you've got a chunkier looking rear hub, obviously replaces the standard free hub, got that little wireless transmitter, you've got the switch gear, then you've got the transmitter in the end of the bars, and the receiver on the end of that smart through axle. Is how much weight this adds. And I've seen all sorts of numbers around, but the basic maths is this bike with the classified compared to bike with the same wheels, same tyres that I tested recently is 226 grams heavier. And bearing in mind that SRAM Force Axis front mech, it's 180 grams of battery, and then you've got chainring bolts to add in. It's actually lighter than a wireless double setup would be. But not a massive amount, but buy an energy bar or so. And because the larger the chainring you run, the more efficient it is. So this, even though this is a 44, or maybe because this is a 44, don't actually feel like I have to engage the hub yet. So we're going to push on a little further into the dale and see where it starts earning. It's not insignificant extra money. Oh, this beautiful custom Kodachi tube set on the Mason Exposure adds weight over a carbon or alloy bike. It just smooths power down onto the trail beautifully. So it's lovely up here. And then, well, they're pretty stiff. Those front 40mm deep carbon gravel race are a really light, again, power hungry wheel. And they're one of the first people to offer classified hubs across their wheel range, although definitely more people are going to take it up, and we might start to see it on complete bikes from bigger brands now. But At the moment, it shows the advantage of being small, reactive, and just dynamic, prepared to experiment brand like Hunt or Mason really pays dividends in terms of reaping the latest developments. So this really is the best of modern technology, but with a really timeless silk steel vibe. And because everything's contained in the hub and the rear axle and the bar end, apart from having to drill the bar for a small hole for the cable, if you haven't got a dedicated wire ready bar, or you can actually slave it into a Di2 system if you want, but you don't need all that hardware that a 2x ready frame needs, and they're becoming rarer and rarer, especially in the gravel space. It's quite hard to find something with front neck mount, front neck cabling, and all the other infrastructure. And even if you do, there's generally a compromise in tyre clearance or other frame factors, and they tend to be older frames which don't have the latest features. And while this bike's running Campagnolo, it can run some SRAM, Shimano. I imagine it can even run with Microshift if you wanted, although that'd be an interesting kind of king and pauper setup, but no reason why you can't. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And it really does open the gateway, cheers Ryan, to a whole different set of gradients and landscapes, which is what we're rolling into now. And this bike is a prime example of that, because not only have I got the space to run these big 50mm Schwalbe overlands, so I've got slightly more control coming down here, although to be fair, I think I've hit it a bit hot. But you know, you can run it with whatever braking setup and group set you want. So in this case, I've got the glorious Migura based brakes of this Campagnolo, which, although I'm probably pulling them a little too much, are just the best drop bar stoppers around. And you've got that single ring chain security as well. You know, you can hear it totally quiet back there. It's not, there's no chain whipping around between the twin rings or bouncing off the front neck. And I have to say, I absolutely detest front necks. I've had so many glitches with them over the years. When I did the whole of the Rebellion Way recce for 2 days, having to hold the left-hand shifter to select the big ring because I couldn't get the cable sorted out. And the reliability claims on this system were classified very, very well. Frankly, they're almost unbelievable, because they say it's essentially zero maintenance, start to finish, apart from wheel bearings. Or to quote Classified themselves, a classified hub has a lifespan that exceeds the lifespan of the internal systems of a bicycle and therefore requires no maintenance. I don't quite know what they mean by internal systems of a bicycle, but anyway, that's what they've said. And they also say you get 10,000 shifts from the battery in the transmitter at the bars, and then, all right, the rear hub is just chargeable via USB and probably needs doing once every 3 months. And now, as things get jankier, I think it might be time to give that shifter button a go. And there we go. Wait, I have to say that's the only thing you need to be careful of. It's so instant and such a pop. There's a high chance of you actually kneeing the bars as you suddenly drop that 0.686 ratio change, which is effectively like going from a 44 tooth chainring, in this case, to a 31. And in terms of gear inches, that's a max of 127.3 and a minimum of 20.5, and a range of well over 500%. So that's comparable with SRAM's 4330 X-range setup on the double, and a lot bigger than Shimano GRX double. And also what's interesting is the fact that it's actually a wider range than running 40 tooth front chainring with 1052 out the back. That gives you around 115 to 22 gear inches. And because it's an addition to the system, not a replacement, while you've got that really wide ratio of gears, you've still got all those really nice small cadence maintaining shifts between that 10 to 36 13 speed block, or whatever block you want to run. So you've not got massive gaps between gears on this system. Hello lambs. It's just, I mean, it's more like a triple in terms of 26 gears with an even spread. And not only is it completely sealed in terms of maintenance, it's fully waterproof too, which is always useful in this country. And also, it is just such a lovely, clean system, aesthetically as well as aerodynamically. But to be honest, I haven't really challenged it yet, so it's time to have a go at something silly, I reckon. So, here we go. Classified hub, Mason exposure and Hunt 40 CGR wheels, and Campagnolo against the famous Scar House climb. Although, you know, aficionados will rightly say it's been smoothed out a lot recently, so it's not the mountain bike challenge it was, but I reckon it's still a fair stretch to bring a gravel bike up here. So we'll see how we do. Okay, so in the bottom, conventional gear now. So 44, 36. Bit of a squeeze up that last ramp. But just to go into a little bit on how Classified Hub works. It's actually a classic Sun and Planet rotary gear setup, like the old Sturmey Archers and most hub gears, but obviously brought up to date with fully wireless electric shifting. And that means when I hit that button, which I'm going to do now, it is, I mean, it's not instant, it's basically instant. So 150 milliseconds takes to make that shift, and it'll do it under a load of up to 1,000 watts as well. So if you're sprinting or clawing your way up something and you're dishing out max power, it's not an issue for this hub. And so far, I mean, I've not had it long, can't really speak to its reliability, but it has been totally glitch free, and it's just that quietness. There's no grind or drag or rub. There's no extreme chain lines. It's just really efficient as well. And there's no, actually what surprises me most is there's no palpable drag in the lower ratio either. It's compared to gearbox bikes I've ridden, is remarkable. I always feel like you're grinding coffee in that lower gear, whereas this feels just as clean and efficient as it does in the 1-to-1 ratio. So I can see why it's already been used at World Tour level, even amongst the ultra fastidious, energy dependent pro racers are using this system, and it's supported, well, invested in by Tom Boonen and a bunch of other legendary road riders as well. So they're prepared to put their reputation behind it. That's serious feather in the cap of this new technology. Yeah, I was wobbling on the edge there, but I think we're gonna make it. Hey. Mason Hunt Classified Campag versus the Sky House Climb. Boom. Roasted. Do you know what? Without sounding a massive douche, I'm not actually that roasted. That was a gift in terms of having the right gear ratios. So where are we at with Powershift then? Well, it's functionally brilliant. It does exactly what it says it does. Almost better than you can believe. Especially if you're going to trust Classified's take on their pretty much lifetime reliability. It's pretty much universal in terms of fit, so you don't need all the front neck gubbins on your bike, which opens it up to all the latest frames with all the geometry and wheel size advantages too. The only issue is, and it's a big one, is cost. So while if you look at a Mason Exposure GRX, the difference between the single and the double chainset price is 40 quid. On the Exposure Classified bike compared to a standard e-car bike, it's going to be 1,200 quid more. So that is a huge difference for what is essentially doing the same job, albeit massively faster, smoother and more silently. But then as with all these things, and bike technology in general, you know, value and price is what's reasonable is in the eyes of who's paying it. And obviously with Mason Exposure running Hunt carbon wheels is not an inconsiderable investment anyway. Although to be fair, for the workmanship that goes into both of them, I'd say they're definitely good value. And when it comes to putting a price on expanding your ability to explore bigger terrain like this, who are we to look into your wallet and decide what's reasonable and what isn't? But it'll certainly be interesting to see what the take-up is on this system when it becomes fully available, not just with early adopters and innovators like Mason and Hunt, but more mainstream bikes, because presumably the more volume there is being sold, the lower that price point will get. And also, look out for some other transmission innovations from Classified coming soon. If the last chat I had with them is anything to go by, they've got some even more interesting plans up their sleeves. And of course the system doesn't just work for gravel. It's appeared on the road first, and it's now available for mountain bikes too. But god damn, this bike with 50 mils on, this is just trucking. What a beautiful setup. Whatever bikes you've got, whatever gears you've got on it, this Exposure is a beauty. I have to say, these big tyres really calm down that quite savagely stiff wheel feel as well. The properly potent, high performance, multi-surface combination. And while I've talked a lot about the lower ratio advantages, obviously being able to run a big chainring has real dividends when you've got smooth tarmac and a bit of a tailwind. So you're definitely out-gearing any single ring systems that are going to be comfortable on steep gravel. Plus you've got that really fine gapping between the ratios as well, which you'll really appreciate on the road. Throwing these big 50mm almost slicks as wide aero on wheels. This Exposure is hauling. So there you go. Hope you've enjoyed that little outback adventure, talking about some very fancy technology out back. But massive thanks to Mason and Hunt and Classified for getting this bike together for me and giving me the exclusive on this setup, which is, you know, it's a proper honour, that is. Thanks, governors. And I have to say, in terms of function and, you know, doing what it's supposed to, only had it for a few days testing, but it has been absolutely flawless, and it really does add a whole new element to this e-car group set and the bike in general. The only potential flies in the ointment are reliability, because, you know, regardless of Classified's claims, it's not been out there that long. You know, it's been on the road for about a year, and I've not heard anyone testing or consumer feedback saying there are any issues with it. But, you know, it is a complicated system with some electrical elements. And, of course, cost. But as we all know, some people seem to be able to find the money to justify almost any expenditure on a bike, and there's no doubt in this case there is a genuine performance advantage. It's not even heavy and certainly feels efficient enough to offset the slight amount of weight it does add. So I'll leave the questions on whether you can afford it or whether you think it's worth it to you guys, but hope you've enjoyed this on-trail insight into the system and the performance advantages that it definitely does give. But for now, massive thanks to Mason for supporting the video. Thanks to my regular channel sponsors, who I will list there. And thanks to my Patreon subscribers as well, who pledge on a monthly basis to help support the channel, and their contributions really help me justify spending more time in front of the GoPro talking to you lot about bikes. So if you really like what I'm doing on the channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon. There's a link at the end of the video. But otherwise, subscribe if you haven't, click for notifications so you know when the next video comes up. They are coming thick and fast at the moment because, you know, God love them, the industry seems to think I'm the person who should be telling you about all the latest and greatest stuff, often before other people, which is a splendid trend I hope may continue. But if you give it a thumbs up as well, and tell your mates about the channel, then I'll get more viewers, I'll get more subscribers, and the industry will send even more stuff this way. But for now, I've been Guy Kesteven on GuyKest TV, being privileged enough to have the exclusive on this super exotic Mason exposure with a Campagnolo car version of Classified's Powershift hub on Hunt's Carbon Gravel Race 40 ultralight race wheels. Oh, and of course, if you want to know more about the Mason exposure itself, then click on the full ride review video link at the end here.